Hello and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about accrued versus prepaid. It is a very common tested topic in accounting exams, and there are several types to it that have been mentioned here: accrued expenses, accrued revenues, and prepaid expenses and prepaid revenues. Let's begin by looking at their definitions. What is accrued expense and accrued revenue? Accrued expenses are expenses which have been incurred but not paid yet. So this is very important. These are expenses which have not been paid by the company, but they have been incurred. So for example, you rented a space, but you have not paid the rent for yet, but you have used that space to generate revenue for yourself. Hence, the company has the obligation to clear the dues, and that is the reason why it is classified as current liability in balance sheet. So for example, you are in 2021 right now. In 2020, you used the rental space, but you did not pay the rent expense for 2020. So that would be your accrued expense because you need to pay or clear your previous dues. What is accrued revenue? Accrued revenue, on the other hand, is the sum of money that has not been received. So in accrued expenses, it is the money that has not been paid yet, whereas in accrued revenue, it is the money that has not been received yet by the company. So for example, if you sell any goods or services on credit and you have not received any money for those goods and services, that is an example of accrued revenue, and it is commonly known as accounts receivable. You can always watch my video on what accounts receivable are. Similarly, other examples of accrued revenue would include accrued interest revenue. So for example, if you have invested in bonds and bonds or any type of loans, and you have not received interest revenue from them, that would be an example of accrued interest revenue, and that is the reason why they are classified as current asset, because the company has the right to receive that payment. On to prepaid expenses and revenue. Prepaid expenses are expenses which have been paid in advance. So uh, many times companies pay for their expenses in advance. For example, rent paid in advance for future months. So let's look at an example. So let's say today is February 2021, and this is December 2021. So from March till December 2021, if you have paid the rent for 1 year in advance, then from March to 2021, this is your prepaid expense. Because you have paid for the rent in advance, but you have not used the rental space for the upcoming months. Therefore, it is classified as current assets in the balance sheet, as the company has paid for the service in the advance, for their future service in advance. Let's look into prepaid revenue. Prepaid revenue, on the other hand, is sum of money that has been received in advance. So in this case, you have received in advance, right? So in prepaid expenses, you have paid in advance, but in prepaid revenue, you have received in advance. For example, payments received for goods and services in advance, and goods are yet to be delivered or services are yet to be performed. And this is commonly known as unearned revenue instead of prepaid revenue. So if a customer has paid in advance for the goods or the service, and you have yet to deliver the good or you have yet to perform the service, that would be classified as prepaid revenue or unearned revenue as commonly known. Because the company has to perform the service, the company has the obligation to perform the service or deliver the goods, and therefore it would be classified as current liability. So let's just quickly summarize what accrued expenses and revenue are, and what prepaid expense and prepaid revenue are. So this should be prepaid. This should be prepaid. So in accrued expenses, it is the expense that is due and that the company has the obligation to pay, and it would be classified as current liability. For accrued revenue, it is the sum of money that has yet to be received by the company, and the company has the right to receive the payment, Therefore, it would be classified as current asset in the balance sheet. Coming on to prepaid expense and prepaid revenue. Prepaid expense is an amount of expense that has been paid in advance, and therefore it would be classified as current asset in the balance sheet. Whereas for prepaid revenue, it is the sum of money that has been received in advance, and company has the obligation to perform the services or to deliver the goods. It is commonly also known as unearned revenue, and it would be classified as current liability in the balance sheet because the company has the obligation to perform the service or to deliver the goods. So I have highlighted the key terms in different colors here for your easy reference. If it's still not clear to you, please pause the video and look at the definitions again. I'm sure you will get it. It's not that hard. It's easy. I hope this video was useful, and if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.